Did you see Putin's dirt that he allegedly has on Hillary Clinton? Tulsi, she's going nuclear. Like, she's totally rogue. This is actually really fascinating. So she now runs DNI, and she's a former Democrat, incidentally, but she was kind of sick of what they were doing. Don't forget, it was Hillary's camp that tried to go after her, suggesting that this woman who had nearly sacrificed her life, I mean, she was a member of the military, for goodness sakes, they tried to say that she was a Russian spy. I don't think she's forgotten that one. No, she hasn't forgotten that one. So, Hillary, gosh, this is not good. Page 17, that's what you need to know. Classified, declassified documents, Crossfire Hurricane operation. I read the 114 pages on the plane on the way over from New York to Ireland to Dublin. Somebody was snoring near me. This poor woman, she couldn't stop snoring. But the good news is that meant that I read the 114 pages. Well, they have a new release here today. And page 17 is incredibly interesting because there's a few little tidbits in there, guys. They had some alleged intelligence on one Hillary Clinton. Internal claims, we're going to go through it, that Hillary was using heavy tranquilizers, suffering intensified psycho-emotional problems. Oh, that's really who you want for your president, right? Then there was evidence of severe health ailments, some things like type 2 diabetes and some heart disease issues. Again, this is all alleged. So this is intel that Vladimir Putin and the Russians had allegedly collected on Hillary Clinton. And the reason this is really, really interesting right now is because none of this stuff came out. So, like, if they actually wanted to use it because they didn't want her to win and they wanted Donald Trump to win, as they kept telling us over and over again, don't you think that they might kind of leak some of this stuff sort of strategically? Other things that they allegedly found were some internal DNC communications that Obama and others found Hillary's health extraordinarily alarming. There was evidence, allegedly, of secret meetings with religious leaders in which Clinton was offering, quote, significant increases in funding from the State Department in return for their support. Oh, we see how that works. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Internal Democrat admissions that the European allies were unenthusiastic about a Clinton presidency and thought she was not up to the job as head of state. Those are some doozies. Okay, those are some doozies. As I said, here's page 17. I'm going to try and zoom in on this a little bit so that we can all see it just a bit better. It goes on and on. It was pretty damaging stuff. Unbelievable. I mean, intensified psycho-emotional problems, including uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness. Ooh, what was that about, Mrs. Clinton? Clinton was placed on a daily regimen of, this is alleged, okay? This is what the Russians had. I'm just saying, like, if the Russians had this, you would think that the Russians would have come forward with this if they really, really, really didn't want Hillary Clinton to win, of heavy tranquilizers. And while afraid of losing, she remained, quote, obsessed with a thirst for power. That's not really surprising. So they compiled all of this. Again, page 17 is well worth your time to read. And I want to just be cautious and, look, it's alleged intelligence that Russia had. But I'm just saying, like, if Putin really and truly did not want Hillary to win, as they alleged, and only wanted Donald Trump to win, then I don't know, like, I think he might have come out with some of this stuff. I think it might have actually surfaced, but maybe that wasn't it at all. Oh, don't tell Hillary.
There is no denying that the Russians interfered in the election. Right. Whether or not they had willing or unwitting help from the Trump team, they interfered. And they did so to help him and hurt me. And they did so to destabilize our democracy. And they have not stopped. I mean, there's been enough public testimony before Congress now by very distinguished, experienced intelligence professionals who all say the same thing. This is a clear and present danger to our country. Yeah. And I think it's important, and I would say this. If the roles were reversed, if I had won the Electoral College and I were in the White House and the intelligence services, I've served with them, I've worked with them, I've read their analysis, both on the Senate Armed Services Committee and as Secretary of State. They don't always get it right, but these are patriotic, hardworking, dedicated men and women. And if they had come to me and told me, we believe that this election was interfered with, we believe that it was influenced, and we believe they are still trying to get into our systems, I would have stopped at nothing. I would have stood up and in front of the country said, even if it advantaged me, I am not going to rest until we know exactly what happened and make sure it never happened.
Well, seems that your side did a pretty good job trying to put that little fire out, right? I mean, page 17, they had quite a bit of intel on one Hillary Clinton. And yet somehow the Russians were working for Donald Trump. Like, it doesn't even make sense. So you see, this is why Tulsi is getting really, really annoyed. Of course, she has her own thing going, right? They try to accuse her of being a Russian spy. I think she's kind of over that. Basically, what she determined was that as way back as September 5th, 2016, they knew that actually there was going to be no way for them to actually really and truly influence the actual election. So they knew that. And yet they had a little meeting. They called everyone in together and they decided, okay, we're going to come up with a different story.
Rice and others essentially making a very intentional decision to create this manufactured, politicized piece of intelligence with the objective of subverting the will of the American people, who in November of 2016 delivered a historic victory to President Trump, defeating Hillary Clinton. And President Obama and his team, their goal was to essentially not accept the decision of the American people and to use this manufactured, politicized intelligence as a means to enact what would become essentially a years-long coup against President Trump. You have gone into great detail over these years of what the effects of this document and this decision have resulted in. Obviously, a years-long Mueller investigation that cost taxpayers almost $40 million, 2 congressional impeachments, endless smears and attacks against not only President Trump, but his family. He had senior members of his team who were investigated, some arrested and jailed. We had heightened and increased tensions between the United States and Russia. The list goes on and on about the consequences of President Obama and his senior cabinet members politicizing intelligence once again, and I say these words very clearly, to enact what was essentially a years-long coup, subverting the will of the American people in that election in November. Now, you referenced this president's daily brief document.
This is, I think, just a scandal that is not going to go away, frankly, for the Democrats, and one that we need to stay all over. All over. I mean, if nothing else, for the sake of history, because they have manipulated it to a point where, even Obama is still coming out and saying certain things. I think he's freaking out. I think Obama actually knows that he's in real trouble here. And at least members of his team are in real trouble. Here's his response. I want you to hear.
So breaking just moments ago, former President Obama's office responding after Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard accused his administration of using, quote, manufactured intelligence about President Trump and Russia. Gabbard sending a referral to the Justice Department and calling for, quote, accountability. President Obama's office saying, quote, nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed in 2020 in the report by the Bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee, led by then Chairman Marco Rubio. That report.
I'm sorry. You can keep telling yourself that. Barack Obama, John Brennan, McCabe, the rest of you, Comey. I'm sorry, but what you actually did is unforgivable, because we still got the tape. And I'm going to play it right now. This is unforgettable. What you tried to lead media organizations and the American public to believe, you knew was false. You knew was wrong. And yet you did it anyway. I mean, this is scumbag stuff. We always knew the intel business was a bunch of scummy you-know-whats, but proven everything that you thought about that industry to be correct, and then some. Watch.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election, and he was put into office because the Russians interfered.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president.
The president-elect, although legally elected, is not legitimate.
I don't see this president-elect as a legitimate president.
You said you believe that Russia's interference altered the outcome of the election.
I do. We have a president who, if in fact it is proven, has been assisted by the Russians and may in fact not be a legitimate president.
The one thing that Trump is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
I have an objection.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina. I object because people are horrified.
He's an illegitimate president.
Do you believe Trump is a legitimate president?
What I believe is that there's no question that the outcome of this election was affected by the Russian interference.
There absolutely is a cloud of illegitimacy.
So that legitimacy is in question, yes.
So that was a very tainted election.
It goes on. There's like 10 minutes of that. And now I just refer you back to page 17. Page 17, when they were talking about Hillary Clinton and all the dirt that Putin had on her, including how she was suffering from these psycho-emotional problems. I mean, you couldn't talk about that way back when. No. Even though there were some videos that might have suggested as much, right? Like this.
Senator Warren. Did you talk about vice presidential possibilities with Senator Warren?
You guys have got to try the cold chai.
I've had it.
It is delicious, isn't it?
Okay.
There is no denying that the Russians interfered in the election.
Right.
Whether or not they had...
Sorry, Hillary. They definitely weren't interfering in any way that actually hurt you. I mean, you may think that, and you can keep telling yourself that, but if they had really wanted to take the gloves off like Tulsi just did, I think we would have seen a whole lot more videos like the one I just showed you, coupled with real concerns about her, quote, intensified psycho-emotional problems, including uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and also cheerfulness. And so much so that she had to be put on a daily regimen, allegedly, of heavy tranquilizers. I mean, this is wild, okay? Absolutely wild. And so I'm telling you, the gloves are off. And now I don't think Obama and his team really know what to do. I mean, she's just declassified it all. Tulsi is taking no prisoners. Obama's trying to say, it doesn't change anything. But, I think there could be some charges. She was asked this directly, and then the president was asked. I'll show you what he had to say, but first, hear Tulsi out.
So as voters, can we feel confident that we will actually see charges, do you think, out of this?
I'm not a lawyer. We're referring all of this to the Department of Justice. I know that Attorney General Pam Bondi is committed to bringing about justice to those who have broken the law. And in this case, again, what these documents detail, to me, in my view, cannot be explained as anything but a treasonous conspiracy. This is not so different from what we saw under George W. Bush, when we saw that manufactured intelligence claiming there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq that kicked off a war that changed our country, that changed the lives of so many people like myself who went and served in those wars. The implications of manufactured intelligence are real. I would even say that what we are seeing here has an even greater impact than what we've seen in the past, because it speaks again to the foundation of our Constitution and our democratic republic, which is why accountability is so critical.
Indeed it is. Donald Trump would agree.
What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him. And Comey was there. And Clapper, the whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room. Right here. This was the room.
Yeah, that was the room. We saw the list of everybody that was in there. So, he's done with them. He knows exactly what they were up to. They concocted this. And I'm telling you, I know it was nearly 10 years ago. But this is important that we set the record straight on this for a variety of reasons so that this doesn't happen again. And he, like Tulsi, wants people to pay. Listen, he's asked directly, who's responsible? Hear his answer.
If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they... Look, he's guilty. It's not a question. I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries.
And it's all coming out. So if I were Brennan, if I were Comey, if I were McCabe, if I were Clapper, if I were Obama, if I were Hillary, I'd be pretty worried right about now.